Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, host of Vancouver Island Time, and today I'm here with Andrew
Andrew,
Plain.
co-host of He Said, She Said, They Said, and I'm with Royal LePage.
And we're talking about real estate in Victoria. So today we're going to have a financial planner talking to us about, how to save your money and all of that. But first of all, how was your weekend?
It was a great weekend. Good weekend. Yeah, busy for one of my listings, getting a lot of activity, and also got to have some personal time, which is always good, and a few showings here and there. So yeah, always good. I like a mix.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I found out that an offer on a property that somebody else had collapsed, so I actually wrote an offer.
You jumped on it? Good. Did you get
it? Pardon?
Yeah. Did you get it?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Yeah. I find a lot of agents don't do that, like backup offers, or just, be really prepared for when that offer on that place you liked that you lost out on falls apart. So it's really good. That's that whole Boy Scout, Girl Scout, be prepared thing.
Well, that is our family motto. Oh, never be unprepared is the motto, actually.
Oh, okay. Good.
A
good
double
variation.
negative.
Yeah. You've already been correcting people on their pages today.
I have a question for you. What about lots? Are you finding like people are buying lots now?
I was watching through the hot sheets actually just the other day, and I saw a duplex lot that had sold in Esquimalt for $850, I think it was. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of houses on duplex lots were selling for less than that just, a year or two ago. And now somebody, now a teardown, now a lot, not even a teardown, is selling for that price. And in an area that's, it's Esquimalt, it's got its ups and downs, but it was nothing specific in terms of location. So yes, and lots are hard to come by. And definitely people are starting to build more.
I think there's more lots coming available on the islands, and people are buying there. So that's one of the things that I focused on this weekend. People are moving further out and buying recreational properties.
Yeah, I've had some phone calls recently from folks definitely looking for recreational. And I mean, there was a recreational property just recently came up for.
Oh, I've lost you.
No, can you see me now?
No, but I can hear you. Okay, now you're on. It might be me. Okay, let's talk about what's happening with this week's stats. So, 327 unconditional sales in the past week.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
287.
Huh. This is interesting. So the bottom stat is actually like what's been happening over the past 7 days. And the top stat is month to date. So they're not that. So the 327 net unconditional sales compared to 287 last year.
Yeah, right. So far busier, and that's to be expected because even though we're in, what do they call it, a third wave now, people are still a little bit more business as usual than they were at this time last year. But new listings is actually less, but we haven't reached the end of the month yet. So at 499, we're only, not even halfway into the month. So we should have a much higher number for end of the month than the 667 in April last year.
Overall listings are still very low. I was going over them with the client, looking at it historically, and I would say we're probably about half as normal at 1,416.
Yeah, and again, we have about that many realtors in the Greater Victoria Real Estate Board, so that averaging one listing per realtor. Of course, some have more and some have less. But next week, I'm bucking the average.
And listing to sales, we're still doing well. So new listings 323, pending has gone down 246. So I was talking with a realtor. Actually, we were both looking at a property on the weekend, and he was saying he thinks the market's shifting a little bit. And definitely there seems to be like less taste for multiple offers. So
yeah, I think the demand is still high, but I think that the appetite for the competition has gone down, and people are realizing they're a little more discerning. And also, I mean, I've been advising people wait and see because I think we're going to see more inventory. So I don't know if others are advising the same, but it could be that we've got a bit of a pause while we maybe refresh some inventory.
Yeah. So what's your prediction for this coming year then?
Well, the same as I've said, I think we're going to see more inventory come up this spring as we get towards late spring. And I'm hoping that we will see a bit of not exactly an inversion, but a bit of a plateau in terms of the prices and interest as we get to more balance. I think we'll find balance by the summer, but it remains to be seen. I think we'll find balance for a number of reasons. I think that government likes to intervene eventually. I was just reading that there's some talk about changing the stress test amount, which could definitely impact the availability of buyers or the buyers' capacity for buying.
Change it in what way? Like how?
Increase the stress test threshold. So if you are looking for a mortgage today, there's the interest rate you're going to get quoted for your actual payments. There's also an interest rate that you're going to have to get qualified based on, and it's a current amount. It's a certain amount. They're talking about increasing that threshold for your qualification for a mortgage. So you'll still pay the same amount for your mortgage, but you may not qualify for as much. Hey, are we ready to introduce Jared?
I'd be doing this behind the scenes, and I didn't mean to do that. Okay, so yes, why don't you introduce Jared?
Okay, so our guest today is Jared Webb. He's with Fernhill Financial, and he's got a program called Design Wealth. He's a financial advisor. I've known him for many, many years, and it's his family business, and a wonderful guy. And let's hear what he has to say today.
Welcome, Jared. Woohoo!
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, and we'll start peppering you with questions.
Sounds good. I feel like I'm at a carnival with little dunk tanks. So Jared Webb, born and bred Victorian, which is rare these days. Born here on the island and lived here for the better part of my life. Been a financial advisor for 14 years, CFP, Certified Financial Planner. And our firm has been in the community for well over 25 years now, helping Victorians and British Columbians with their financial future and their wealth, both saving it and spending it. And, the last few years have been fantastic. We've sought to understand the shift in the financial industry. And in doing that, we have created Design Wealth, which is seeks to combine both human behavior and financial planning together, because human behavior is sort of the last frontier that hasn't really been addressed when it comes to creating wealth, spending wealth, understanding wealth, and really what makes us so predictably irrational when it comes to our decisions.
Right.
So that's really what we're looking to combine with that. And so far, it's been incredibly successful.
Amazing. I've noticed, I forget what it's called, I think it's like Noom or something, where there's a thing which is based on weight loss, based on psychology, and you're doing the financial version.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Andrew.
Yeah.
And it gives you immediate feedback, right? That's the thing. The banner is bugging me, so I'm just going to take it off.
Yeah, we don't
have shoulders. I really do have shoulders. I'm not sure.
Okay, so we get often with people, first-time buyers, like, how do we go from essentially, nothing? I have an 18-year-old who's about to turn 19, and how is he going to afford to buy a house in 10 years? What's the plan?
Well, in Victoria, Vancouver, Toronto, I don't know. But in the rest of Canada, no, I'm just kidding. Really, I think really for anything that we want to do in life, cash is king. And as simple, and the thing I will preface all this with is, as simple as what I will say things may be, I'm not suggesting that they're going to be easy. So, back to the point, cash is king. Really, the best thing that some people can do if they're looking to get in the market or even upgrade or understand what they can handle really is to do, an analysis of their cash flow. Something that we've had tremendous success with people for two reasons. One, it gives people a sense of control and understanding about where they're at today. It also allows them to actually almost stress test or test whether or not they can afford in real time and actually test it out whether or not they can afford to take on a mortgage or a larger mortgage.
Right.
And really the simple concept is, if you like, there's a worksheet that we use. And basically what we start is we look at, monthly income. So what hits the bank account every month? That's a pretty easy number. And so that comes in, that gets entered in. And then what we've also found interesting is that every budget worksheet we've ever seen always leaves the pay yourself first at the very bottom. Usually the first thing that we deduct from our take home is our rent or our mortgage. And while that is our largest expense, if you read any book, listen to any blog, read any blog, listen to any video podcast about creating wealth, it's always pay yourself first. So we went ahead and added that as the first expense on here. So you can see that pay yourself first there. Mm-hmm. And then we look at the fixed, recurring, non-negotiable costs that we incur. So rent, mortgage, house insurance or content insurance, utility bills, etc. Those things are ongoing. They're reliable. They're always going to be there. And we take those in three categories: housing, auto, and personal.
Right.
What you net out at the very bottom, we break it down into is a weekly spend. And so this is what we call their variable spend. This is what they can control to an extent. And the example I might give you is, let's say you need to buy a t-shirt. You have a choice to spend $20 on a white t-shirt at Walmart or $100 on a brand name t-shirt at, say Guess or Levi's store or something. It's still a white t-shirt. And I'm not judging either way. If you've got the money, spend it. But that is in essence the choices that we have. And so when you arrive at this weekly number, this is just the math. What comes in, less what you have to spend or the bills you owe. What you have left over is what you have. And if you can live, if your lifestyle within that weekly number, it doesn't have any pain points, any pressure, you don't feel like you're having to make some difficult decisions, life is good. Mm-hmm. And so that's a current situation for someone. So someone that's looking to buy a house or wants to get into that could enter their rent and all their costs in here and see what their weekly spend is. And if their life is comfortable, great. Then what they can go do is go back into their calculator here and add in what their mortgage would be and see how that directly affects their weekly spend. So they're not taking any risk right now. They haven't bought the house, but they can add all their costs and their property taxes, their house insurance, because that's going to be more than content insurance, and other things that might come along. It will reduce their weekly spend. They can then try and live on that without the risk of taking on a house. If they comfortably do that, so they might go say from, let's say, $500 a week weekly spend to $300 a week weekly spend. That's just the math. I don't care what they spend it on. That's just all that they have to spend once they incur extra expenses.
Yeah.
If they can live comfortably on that, then fantastic. They can make the mortgage work, etc. If they can't, then adjustments need to be made. Either they can't afford that house, they need to look at something that's less expensive, or they need to increase their income. And so it really allows for people to test whether or not this is, a venture that they can take on without actually putting themselves in a very precarious position and overstretching themselves.
Right. Now, when you say pay yourself first, that's about, putting money into savings, putting money aside, all of that. And I love that you put that before those monthly expenses, because one of the things that, even though you call those monthly expenses fixed expenses, someone who has a goal in mind, like buying a house, they do have a choice sometimes on whether or not they rent the large 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or 5-bedroom, 4-bath, or they rent, maybe for a while they do a bachelor suite, and or they have roommates or something like that because they have a goal, but they're making sure they pay themselves first a certain amount to get to their other goals. And then they can, although you have fixed monthly expenses, you might choose to have a big car, an expensive car, you might choose to sell that and drive a beater for a little bit. And I find, Jared, and this is probably part of, you pay now or you pay later. If you save your money for a house and you get yourself a house and you kind of tighten your belt for a little bit, then you're going to have much better. And on the other side of it, the equation, you're going to be much better financially off than if you don't do that. So you pay now or you pay later. So
absolutely.
Any comments, Jane, or thoughts or questions?
Well, interestingly, when COVID hit, I immediately created a spreadsheet like this for myself because I was like, okay, I need to know exactly what's coming in and what's going out. And I was like in high blueprint mode, risk averse. I think I'm agreeing with you. I know I'm agreeing with you. It's all about cash flow. It's not about cost often. And when you're working with a financial planner or a financial advisor or even like a mortgage broker, they're going to look at your monthly costs and figure out what you can afford per month. I think this is a great sheet for people who are looking possibly to buy an investment property and looking at the potential investment that they might be getting in. And then I think it's important to diversify your investments. So some people are just focused on real estate. Some people are just focused on financial, investing. And I think having a mix of the two is a good idea.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, it's all about diversity, right? And investment really is trying to make your money grow. And all investments come with an opportunity cost. It doesn't require a lot of capital to do stocks and bonds, mutual funds, GICs, etc. However, you can't immediately turn that into positive cash flow, i.e. an investment property, right? It takes capital intensive, but if structured properly and the income that can generate over time is definitely an opportunity. And I think that and the leverage that you can have, you're really leveraging, $400,000, $500,000, $1 million to turn that into, 1.2, 1.5, et cetera. You're really trying to leverage that investment. If you were doing that, if you were able to access that kind of capital and put it into the markets, if that was something that could happen for the average person, they would see similar results. But obviously there's more risk in the markets. The house is a tangible asset. We can see it. There's a perceived value there beyond ownership in a company. So I mean, again, everything, opportunity cost, they're not a one or the other. It's not a this is better than that. It's really very situational. And it's something that with Design Wealth, what we love about it so much is it's not predicated on the need to, just use the tools that are typically associated with the financial services industry. If someone wants to have a portfolio of real estate, that in and of itself is an investment. And it's not to say that that's better or worse. It's great. You're doing something to better your position. How does that fit into your situation? And really what it strikes to do, what we strive to do is change part of the conversation around what it is to do financial planning and wealth management to engage a financial advisor with how they're educated, not how they're licensed. And too often we see people engage with industry experts with how they're licensed, either insurance, stocks and bonds, or mutual funds. None of those are bad. They are all tools. That's all that they are. And so same with real estate. Real estate is a tool. It's a means to an end. It's an asset. Yeah. And, it's a great asset. And so if we can engage professionals with how they're educated, with their knowledge, then we will be able to exercise a lot more value as consumers than if we engage with just the way that they're licensed.
Teach someone to fish, or give someone a fish. You feed them for a day. Teach someone to fish. Feed them for a lifetime. And what you're saying is, and people come to real estate agents like this too. I just want you to be my solution. Solve my problem. Don't tell me what I need to know. Just do it for me. And that's one type of person, but there are other people out there who really want to understand and learn how to use those tools themselves and go to the person who has familiarity with those tools and is able to articulate, this is how this works, so that then these people can learn to make their own financial decisions from a position of, having a counselor and someone behind them to help them make good decisions, but also help them understand why they're good decisions.
Absolutely.
I think also it speaks to it speaks to the fact that you should really align yourself with somebody who has the same values of you.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
if you have different values, often they'll knock. And in real estate, I say it's kind of like dating. When you're working with a realtor, you want to work with somebody who you're going to get along with and who has, advice you want to hear. Sometimes people don't want to hear your advice. And I went to your website, actually, Jared, and you talked about what is the value of money. And money is, if you look at money, if you look at working just for the sake of money, and if you look at real estate just for the sake of money, you're going to be on the low end of the scale. Like, money's not the be all and end all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I work with a lot of people. Oh yeah, Mike Raleigh says great advice.
Thanks, Mike. Mike gives good advice too. He's awesome. I like Mike.
Good.
So, what other questions do you have there, Andrew?
Well, so actually, I wanted to make a comment that I just worked recently with some young folks, and we were talking earlier about saving up for a house. These young folks in their early 20s were able to buy their first condo. It was nothing amazing. It's not a house. They're going up the property ladder, but they'd saved up, and they're not making a lot of income. But what they did was they just made sure that they cut those expenses we talked about and save and save and save. They're going to be so much further ahead than their peers in a few years. And then, a question for you is, and this, is what's the total cost? Like when you're looking at a mortgage, and interest rates and so forth, what would you kind of recommend if somebody's looking at their different mortgage options? Is it the lowest interest rate that they should consider, or what are some of the considerations they might want to look at when they're talking to their mortgage broker about these things?
Yeah, that's a good question, Andrew. I think really someone had shared this with me a while back. I thought it was a really interesting way of looking at it. When it comes to mortgages, would you rather have the lowest interest rate, or would you rather pay the least amount of interest? And I always thought that was an interesting way of putting it, because I find that we typically go with the lowest rate. That's at least in general conversations, my non-scientific opinion on it seems that most people go, oh, I got the lowest rate. Awesome. And yeah, from a mathematical standpoint, 2.5 is more than 1.9. I mean, that will beat hands down, but that's not all there is to it. Really, you've got different forms of it. You got a fixed traditional mortgage, principal and interest payments required every 2 weeks, every month. Repayment schedules, 20% on the anniversary, or 10% every quarter, whatever the conditions might be. You've got home equity line of credit, basically a giant line of credit tied to the title of the house, and that is can be fixed as a interest only payment, etc. And I find that there needs to be more consideration given to a person's unique situation with regards to the type of mortgage they put in place. An example I would give would be, let's say someone is commission based, or has a position where they get bonuses. Not guaranteed, but there's they do very well their job. They could pretty much bank on them, all things being equal. Mm. And so they typically get large sums of money at random times during the year. Well, if those types of individuals, for example, have a fixed mortgage and they can only make their payments biweekly or monthly, that sort of a thing, then their cost in interest is going to be significant compared to the idea that if they maybe had a home equity line of credit, one where they can make lump sum deposits on there, even though the interest rate is higher, and it is absolutely, it'll be higher on that, because they can throw an extra 20 grand as soon as they get it into the mortgage, but still have the ability to access it 3 months later when the roof needs to be repaired. The savings on that over the lifetime of the mortgage is going to be huge. And save them a significant amount of money while still maximizing the effectiveness of their cash flow. It doesn't tie their hands, because if they still let's say they were at the anniversary of their annual anniversary, they could put 20% down, and they do that on a traditional mortgage. Well, they can't get that money back out if something unforeseen came up unless they refinance. Right. So there's all these little things to consider when they're building it into their overall financial plan, when they're looking at their overall wealth and their goals and what they're trying to achieve. There needs to be more than just consideration for rate. And I would encourage people to not only just talk to a mortgage broker around their mortgages and their financial advisor around their finances, but in essence, incorporate both. Talk to both professionals and sit there and say, okay, look, like, how does this fit into my life plan? How can I maximize my cash flow, my earnings, my mortgage, pay the least amount of interest, get the best deal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. The other flip side of that is home equity line of credit, you have access to it. So even if you make commissions, and it would be a good idea from a human behavior standpoint, if you're not able to have a sense of control or understanding around money, and it's not you're bad or good or whatever, it's just some people have greater difficulty with it, then maybe the fixed income or the traditional fixed mortgage is a better tool, because then you will not be able to capsize your own boat. Right. You can even though, yes, you would save more money from a human behavior standpoint, it is better to put that in place, because it will save you ultimately from going in and out, never paying off the debt. So the point being is there's a significant amount of consideration that needs to go beyond that, but people don't need to figure that out on their own. Engage your professionals, talk to your mortgage broker, talk to your financial planner, talk to your real estate agent, and get everyone working together for you to find you the best deal. You're the center of that. That's where everything should revolve.
I find exactly what you were saying. I always tell people, you got to look at the big picture and look at all the terms and conditions, look at what you can pay off. What if something happens? What's going to be the exit strategy if you want to move in a couple of years? These are all issues, as well as home equity line of credit, just putting that in place before, because I've had clients now who are trying to do it after, and it's expensive to get that in place.
Afterwards, after the fact,
It's like $900.
Yeah. I find if you're shopping based on price, the lower the price, the less options you have available to you. The reason a product is cheap is because it doesn't have much flexibility. The more, you might pay a little more, but it might be really worth it to give you that flexibility if you have certain other business plans or goals, like Jared was mentioning about putting in a home equity line of credit right off the bat or something like that. So I love that.
And also, when you're at the bank asking those questions, so having a list of questions, Jared, if you want to give us the list of questions, we'll put them on our website.
Sure.
That we're going to create. But, it's funny, when I got into real estate, I'm like, get the lowest rate, and now I tell people, you may get the lowest rate, but you may not get the best mortgage for yourself. So I have another question. Mortgage insurance versus life insurance on the value of a mortgage.
Absolutely. They're huge.
Jumping in here really quick. So I'm got to do it. I had a friend years ago. Her mother unfortunately passed away suddenly, and her mom had bought, and I'm not sure which product it was. I do because it would have been the insurance on the mortgage insurance. So when she passed away suddenly, the house got paid off, and she obtained the house. So I mean, this was a young woman, and her mom had the foresight to make sure that she got cared for, which was amazing. But what's really interesting is I always thought that was quite an interesting product. And then years later to learn that, that's not necessarily the best product, and that there are other options. And so when you go to the bank and you make these decisions around the mortgage, and the bank says, hey, do you want to put insurance on this? Because if you pass away suddenly, your loved one is cared for. So I just want to say that these things do happen, and that it's very real, and it's very helpful for certain scenarios. And Jared, sort of fire away.
Hold on a second.
Oh, there's okay. Yeah.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. There, the question's been answered. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's exactly right, Jane. So basically, there's three things that separate mortgage insurance and traditional life insurance. Okay, and when I say mortgage, I do mean creditor insurance. So we're talking disability creditor insurance, mortgage creditor insurance, all the creditor insurances that are attached to debt. The three significant differences are, first of all, the beneficiary. So on creditor insurance, the beneficiary is always the lender, not your family, not your spouse, not your kids, the lender. If there's no money owing or little money, the kids don't get anything. Again, to Jane's point there in the graph. And so,
do you want to explain the graph really briefly before we go on? Sorry.
Okay, so what the graph means is you buy your house here, and then over time, the mortgage is going to go down. If you have mortgage insurance, you're going to be paid, let's say you pay $39 a month. The mortgage will get paid off. But if you buy life insurance, I'm doing this backwards, you buy the house, you pay $39 a month. And then at the end, let's say this is $500,000. At the end, the payout is $500,000. Here, the payout is what is the balance of the mortgage?
Absolutely. Yep. So that's the second point. It's a declining balance, a declining death benefit on creditor insurance. So to Jane's point, absolutely. Whatever the balance owing, you pay the same dollar amount. Whatever the balance is owing is what gets forgiven. And really, it's not even paid out. It's just forgiven. They just go, okay, you're good. And it doesn't replace any of the needed cash flow to operate the house. It doesn't cover property taxes. It doesn't cover house insurance, etc., repairs, anything outstanding, nothing. Whereas the life insurance is, as Jane pointed out, it's set. So if it's $500,000 at day one, it's $500,000 at day 20. Okay. And so as you keep paying that premium, it remains the same. And as the mortgage balance declines, the difference can be pocketed. And here's the kicker too, back to that beneficiary designation. You might get, 10 years into the mortgage, somebody passes away and there's a big payout. The spouse doesn't have to, or the person that receives the money doesn't have to use that money to pay off the mortgage. They could decide to sell the house and move back to wherever they're from. Mm-hmm. Whereas the mortgage creditor insurance will just pay out the house. Then they just have to go through that entire process again. And so, it makes it very, very, beneficial to have life insurance over creditor insurance. Now, the third and final one that's probably the most important is that life insurance is underwritten when you make your application. So when you're applying for the coverage, the insurance company looks at your application and determines whether or not you are an insurable risk. They make that determination at the beginning. Yeah. Whereas creditor insurance is going to be more so when you make an application, when you apply for the benefit. So you answer a couple of questions, and depending on how you answered them, then they look at your application. You've been paying it for years, but then they make the decision whether or not they will give you the benefit. Life insurance is, are you dead? Is there a death certificate? It paid out, right? I'm simplifying it. Of course, there's some clauses in there. If it's suicide in the first 2 years, it won't pay out, etc. But for the most part, that's the way that it works. And so often, what I find as well, when it comes to life insurance, one of the things that I do with clients is when we're looking to put life insurance in place, I don't look to just replace the mortgage. What we actually look to do is replace income. We have a calculator we use, and it's all very specific. We have a very calculator formula, and we go through and we say, okay, you make X, one of you dies, you need to replace that income out for so many years, so that the way we approach it is we look to replace lifestyle. We want to give the spouse and family a choice. Yep. We want to allow the kids to still go to hockey camp, still go to sports camp, summer camp, drama camp, whatever they want to do, even though mom or dad isn't here. Again, yep. Assuming kids are in the picture, but just because the spouse isn't here doesn't mean that everything has to stop. Life can remain at least somewhat normal despite not physically having their parents here or their partner here. And so that's what we strive to do. And we found significant value in putting it like that, because it actually sometimes ends up being that the requirement for life insurance is less than the full value of the mortgage, just because of time. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes we find that it's much more accurate and pinpoint and puts an appropriate amount of life insurance. Interestingly enough, one insurance company just came out with an ability to choose your term. on your mortgage insurance, or on your life insurance, sorry. And so what that means is you can choose, 5 years, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way up to, I believe, 30.
Yeah.
And so you could choose a 27-year mortgage, 27-year life insurance to match your 27-year mortgage.
Right.
And pay the 27-year price.
The other thing is when you have mortgage insurance, the bank's a beneficiary. It's underwritten though when you die.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get life insurance, it's underwritten when you are
applying.
Yeah. So it's a different kettle of fish. And you may not get the life insurance if there was something. You may not get the mortgage insurance if they find you didn't, fall within the terms when you died.
Exactly. And I find it to be relatively cheaper too. At least comparable. If not, you can find life insurance to be a little bit cheaper than creditor insurance.
It seems like it's more flexible and cheaper. And when you go to sign your mortgage documents, you're kind of given this choice. And sometimes it's a surprise. So for those first-time buyers out there, for those people who haven't been through this process before, you might be at the lawyer's office and be told, like, here, do you want to sign this? Do you want this product? And it's a yes, no. And it's only available really at that point, because once you've got your mortgage, you don't have the option of putting that insurance on after the fact. The life insurance, you could choose to maybe wait a week or two or a month, whatever. I mean, don't wait too long. But
So what I would say to that, Andrew, actually, is if someone is doing mortgage papers at the lawyers, as you outlined, and they don't have life insurance, take the mortgage insurance, because you can always cancel it.
I see.
Okay. So take the mortgage insurance, get some coverage in place. It's better than nothing, right? Apply for the life insurance, because again, you're not required to take it. It's called a unilateral contract. If you pay the premium, the insurance company is required to pay out the death benefit. It's very much in favor of the consumer. And so that's why they do all their underwriting at the time of application. They need to make sure that the risk is acceptable when they make you the contractual offer to insure you.
Right.
And so if you have someone, first-time home buyer or whatever, that has no life insurance, take the mortgage insurance. Then, as you said, don't wait. Go talk to an insurance agent or a financial advisor. Get some life insurance in place. Once it's been approved, accepted, and in place, go back and cancel the mortgage creditor insurance.
Excellent advice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good turn on that. I hadn't considered that.
No problem.
Well, Roy is saying these are really great live talks and videos.
Thanks, Roy.
Lots of value. Yes, we're trying to mix it up. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate it. It was kind of a last minute thing. Our guest today is being deferred to next week. So,
happy to help. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Absolutely.
We may even have you back at some point, Jared.
Oh, well, that'll be the test then, won't it? No, I really appreciate that, guys. Thanks for having me. And it's been awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, Jared.
Excellent.
Nice to
Thanks.
see you.
Thank you.
Okay, see you later. Bye.
Bye. So I want to just thank everybody for making comments. It's nice to see the comments popping up. It's really good to engage with that, and always appreciate that. So it makes us happy to know that people are watching and engaging and actually listening and picking things up.
Learning
something. We're not just pretty faces.
Okay, and next week we're going to have Russell Cass. He's from Home Check Home Inspections. He's going to be talking about depreciation reports. We're going to be looking at condos as a whole. So when you buy a condo, you're not just buying a unit in the building, you're buying a portion of the common property, and we're going to talk about that. And you're welcome, Roy. My pleasure. Thank you for showing up. I just realized this week I can actually show your comments. So
this is fun. I love that they're popping up.
Okay, so please join us. We're here every Monday morning at 10 a.m. and we're on YouTube. We're also on Cross Country Market Update, various sites. So we'd love to have you join us. And Andrew, anything you want to say?
I think that's great, and really looking forward to next week. Russell's a great person. I really enjoyed today's show as well. So this is a wonderful thing. I really enjoy it myself. So
Okay, so if you want more information about real estate, you can contact Andrew at
Andrew Plank at 250-360-6106. That's email me at info@andrewplank.com. And again, the phone is 250-360-6106.
Yeah, and if you want to reach me, my name's Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at briarhillgroup.com. And you can reach me at 250-744-0775 or email me at briarhillgroup@gmail.com. Take care, everybody. Have a great week.
See you later, Jane. Have an awesome week.